Hi, my name is Celissa H, and this is how human activities affect the sustainability of plants and animals. As a species that is not very concerned about anyone or anything other than ourselves, it is understandable that most of us don't take the time to concern ourselves with issues that actually matter. One of these issues is that while going through our normal day, we do certain things that seem so normal to us, but indirectly hurt the rest of the planet's creatures. We don't see what happens to them because we don't live in an area of great biodiversity, like those who live in Africa or South America. There are activities that we do daily that have a direct relationship with animals all around the world. The activities discussed below are the reasons that species around the world now have less of a chance at surviving because of the ignorance of humanity. Scientists have introduced a new idea called the human touch, which talks about how humans have affected the planet since we've been here. It introduces the idea that humans are now responsible for causing changes in the environment that hurt animals and plant species. And nobody thinks twice before corrupting an ecosystem. For example, we decide that the state of Georgia is going to put a highway through the middle of the marshlands in order to make it more convenient for travelers coming up from the south. The problem with this is that we just go ahead and build the highway. No one stops to think about what resources and habitats we're destroying so that we can have the highway. The highway that we've decided is so important just ruined the habitat where many species lived. Birds, insects, alligators, and so many other living things now have nowhere to live, because that ecosystem was unique to them. Actually, the fastest wildlife decline is in freshwater habitats, which lost 81% of their vertebrate populations between 1970 and 2012. This was most likely because of the destruction of their unique habitats. This is something they just can't find anywhere else. They have to each go their own way, which usually means invading human or other plant and animal inhabited areas. So why do we question it when we find little bugs in our homes? It's because we took over their home for our personal use. This labels them as an invasive species because they're forced out and proceed to invade other inhabited areas looking for a place to live. This is bad because every habitat and ecosystem has something called a carrying capacity, which is the maximum population that the ecosystem or habitat can successfully hold. When we force one population out of their home, the surrounding ecosystems have to deal with carrying that extra weight. This is not good because about 42% of endangered or threatened species are affected by an invasive species. This means that we can only increase the chance of extinction in species when we force them out and into places that are already occupied. This is only one of the many reasons that so many species have died off. In fact, in the past 100 years alone, about 500 species have become extinct, and we only have ourselves to blame. Industrialization and the expansion of society are more examples of why there are so many plant and animal species dying in the last few hundred years. Humans believe that they are superior to any other species. This is why they feel the need to expand and dominate new areas, because it makes them feel powerful. What we don't know about industrialization and expanding is that we dump approximately 6.3 billion tons of carbon dioxide into the atmosphere annually. Many animals, such as aquatic life, cannot withstand this amount of pollution and are increasingly dying. People don't understand that in just a few decades, we have increased the chances of extinction for so many different species. What they also don't understand is that at one point or another, it's going to come back to bite us. Due to the fact that we have been polluting the oceans and air for quite some time, there have been reports that in the North Pacific Ocean, oxygen-producing phytoplankton concentrations are 30% lower today compared to the 1980s. This indicates that if we continue at the rate that we are currently destroying and polluting habitats, we will eventually run out of oxygen in the atmosphere. If we don't stop and try to save the creatures that help this planet survive, then we will eventually perish with them. Humans cannot successfully live on Earth without other plants and animals because they provide necessities for humans, such as food and oxygen. With new data coming to light, it has been discovered that the average American is 5 times more likely to die during a human extinction event than a car crash. If we're smart, we will stop focusing on issues that don't matter and start trying to reverse the seemingly irreversible damage that humanity has done throughout the last few centuries.